Hey everybody, it is Sunday, June the 4th of 2023. I actually did do a video yesterday, but you couldn't hear me because of all of the nice breeze, which we will be thankful for because we're already in the 90s. Also, apologies, have not done a lot of videos in a while. Things have been getting done, but not too terribly much, just a lot going on with work, a lot of travel. And then some of that even resulted in me getting sick. One time when I came back, Hess was missing, one of the kitties. And I was really worried that we had lost her like we lost Hera. She did finally come home. I don't know how she made it home, but the girl was definitely attacked and beaten up quite a bit. We went to the vet to try and address what we could. She is definitely making a good recovery, so I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, it's just been one thing after another, and that's just how it goes. I didn't expect that we would always be making progress every single weekend. So, but this weekend has really made up for, oh man, just months of disappointment. Like Sammy said when I dropped him off yesterday, he said, "I could tell you're giddy," and I absolutely am, because this is a project that has been basically holding back several other projects. So unexpected, but super excited about it. So a couple of weeks ago, I had reached out and asked one of our illustrious neighbors and family friends, Sammy, if he would teach me how to work a skid steer if I rented one, primarily because I was going to be covering up that plumbing, which I'll show you again in a minute. And in doing so in the yard, I'd like for this to be the final time we have to work on it and to finally get it level again, and sloping away from the house so that everything drains, but it also isn't miserable to mow. So as I was walking through that process and asking him about it, I think he responded maybe, and that was it. And then lo and behold, yesterday as I was taking a break from installing the robot mower, which I will also show you, I heard a rumbling in the backyard, and it being Curran's, we have a lot of people just going down the street with combines and tractors and whatever else. And so I didn't think too much of it until I looked out the window and he had brought his skid steer. So I got a crash course in doing that yesterday, and I won't take credit for this pile completely. A few of those pieces I did, but he helped me get up the slab where the garage used to be. This garage was put in by my grandfather and some of the other town dignitaries, if you will, in I think it was in the 50s, maybe, after World War II, I believe. It did actually have a little bit of reinforcement in it. It was actually around the perimeter. So they did have rebar, and you can probably see a couple of pieces. They did give us a little bit of trouble, which just kind of goes to the point of this thing was not going to fall down. It didn't look pretty, but it was not structurally unsound. If you can think about it as like a girdle, this was like the belt that held everything together, even though it was cracking in the center. But it did make for a challenge to get everything. There you go. You can see some of the rebar, and you can also see some of the nuts, the bolts that held the sole plate, so the bottom piece of the wood structure, to the concrete. But anyways, we got it up, and that is super exciting. Now we got to get the concrete taken away, but at least to be able to make progress. And so I definitely want to just kind of talk about what that progress is going to be now that this one thing is done. And that's where a lot of, in construction, you have people who that their entire job is construction management. And a lot of that is planning things to go in the right sequence so that we don't waste money and we don't waste time. And that does create a lot of issues. Particularly it has done that with this house. So if you have to stop to tear down a building, but you were going to be working on something else, that money and time and effort kind of gets misplaced and you end up wasting money and time. But anyway, so here, being able to get this slab out means that I can now go ahead and frame and install my back steps, which I couldn't before because the concrete slab was in the way. I also started working on sidewalks, which I'm going to continue on with hopefully the rest of the day today. So steps off of the back porch there, which will be huge. Also, if I did nothing else, having that taken out just makes mowing easier. So I did just purchase a robot mower, but even if I didn't do that, there was just so much that I had to go around, and I couldn't just mow in one straight shot. And you guys know, you've probably seen me mowing. My grandmother mowed until I think she was 96 or 97. She mowed her own yard. She was blind and deaf at that point, but you kind of get to know your yard, and I think it's a really great workout. But it's getting to the point where, especially with me traveling for work, I'm coming back to, especially with unexpected travel issues, coming back to really tall grass, and having to spend half of my weekend just dealing with the mowing and the maintenance. So as much as I like all the pretty stripes and everything else, I'm excited to at least have a little bit of help for myself. So everybody meet Darth Blader. He is installed. He has a PIN code, which means if you were to take it, you couldn't operate it. He also has GPS, so if you pick him up and try and take him, I'll be able to figure that out. It also will set off an alarm as well. I was in the process of installing, and we'll go through a whole video just on that, but installing the boundary wire, and there are two different other wires that go in that help lead it back to the charging station. But in all of that process, the skid steer showed up, and that kind of halts this because we're about to tear the heck out of the grass, which I'm not upset about. From about here back is all weeds and grass that I don't want anyways. So I was planning on resodding anyways, but I was temporarily just installing the wire above the ground just so I could cut down on the maintenance, obviously. But now that I've got this, and Sammy has given me the chance to learn, so lifelong learners, always good. I'm just gonna, do donuts in the backyard and really learn. And this is a great place to tear up the dirt and do it, because all of this grass is going anyways. It's going to be replaced, or I will have pavement or a garage or something like that put in. So I'm super excited about the timing being absolutely perfect for that. And ideally, we would have done all of this before putting in the fence, which you guys know I pulled a permit to be able to do that. So just fantastic timing. So I'm super excited about that. Now, I do have beautiful grass here. This is St. Augustine, what's left of it. This was not ever supplemental watered or anything, even during the drought. So I'm going to try and maintain what I can. Obviously, the ditch has always been kind of a big issue. And so I think having the fence will really help kind of create those boundaries and stop at least the weeds from getting over here. And hopefully I can work on the drainage. But the bigger issue is up here between two different trades coming in. We've had the trench that was dug for the power, which I've complained about several times, so I won't bore you with that. But basically it wasn't filled in even remotely flat again. And it was before, it was sloping correctly before. So we've got water backing up towards the house, and it's also just been, this used to be the most pleasant part to mow. And it became the most miserable because you were, doing waves and undulating, and it was a workout to do with the mower. And the robo mower can handle some pretty good incline, but that would be a challenge. Likewise, then when we had the issues with the plumbing, this being the last bit of pipe that needed to be replaced, this was all going to be an issue, having to fill it back in again anyway. So on to that though, I am super excited. I am actually about to start filling it back in. I'm going to take a couple more pictures just, for the inspector and stuff. It was inspected before, but definitely did some better things now. So things that I have done, we've got the dual drain clean out. This is going to be located basically in a little flower bed that's going to go alongside this drive, but the drive itself is going to change as well. And this is an ideal location. I think they said you could have it within 10 feet of the house, and that depends on how you define the house. But this is really great here because if I need to get in there and clean anything out. I can plug one side or the other, pressurize it if I need to. If sewage is going to come out, this is a great place to have it done where it's not disruptive in the city and it's not right up under my house and I don't have to crawl through it. So this is fantastic. You'll also see the green wire that's located on top of it. That is tracer wire. There's a chance it won't work, but even on the off chance that it might, it's worth putting it in. This is actually the same outdoor gauge wire that I'll be using in the attic anyways. So I just went ahead and bought my wire and taped it down. I will also be, you can see I've got filter fabric here and there is gravel already underneath, but I'll be pulling a little bit more gravel in to help secure the pipes and control, from any changes in level and pressure and stuff, especially when we're about to drive heavy equipment on top of it. So I'm feeling much, much, much better about that. It doesn't mean it won't fail, but at least I've taken a lot more precaution. And likewise, we know the tape won't last forever, but I did go ahead and just note here, and I'll probably grab a Sharpie and write it on the pipe too. The white pipe that you see going over the big pipe, that is the water supply. This is just reiteration from before. And then we've got our sewer pipe that's going out to the city. This is all of my fresh water that's clean and filtered coming into the house. So we definitely don't want those two to mix. And that's why building code tells you that one pipe cannot cross the other. But here we are living the dream with these two crossing each other. So one of the solutions that is an exception in the building code is that you would sleeve the pipe, which means basically here in the city we have 3/4 inch PVC pipe supplying our water. And then you would put, I think this is a 1 1/4, probably 1.5 inch pipe that's going over it. And so it can slide back and forth. It needs to overlap that pipe, I believe by 5 feet or 4 feet on either side. Anyway, so you can see that it has protected it so that if, let's say I have a leak and I'm digging down, I'm not going to puncture the water line and then puncture the sewage line. Or let's say my sewage line, which this literally did actually happen. The person who installed the sewage line last year left a clean out on. I don't know why. And that is able to back itself off, which it did, and leaked raw sewage into the yard. There was also another gasket that wasn't tightened down enough either. So basically we had raw sewage going on. And then I had my water line. And as I dug down, instead of the sleeving that we had wanted, there was just a 3-foot pipe of foam insulation. That doesn't do anything, and you can hit it with your shovel and immediately damage it, which is exactly what happened. Luckily, it didn't damage the actual pipe because I knew something shady might have been going on. And so I didn't expose my fresh water to my raw sewage. But we want to prevent that from ever possibly happening if we can. So this is a nice caution to the person who might be digging these things up in the future that, hey, something different is going on here. Be very delicate, dig by hand, don't use power equipment and that type of thing. So anyways, we got the tracer wire, we got the gravel, we got the filter fabric. I had to replace the pipes down there because having everything tied in was not quite lining up like it should have. And yeah, so now we're ready to fill all of that back in. So I am super excited about that. And the part that I was really disappointed about, but just going to make do, be patient and things will eventually work themselves out, was that the sewer line runs underneath this parking area. And this was the one piece that I couldn't replace. Everything else in the house, except for some iron pipe all the way in the attic and the roof, which will be replaced later. Everything else has been replaced. And so this is really frustrating to know that the weakest link is under this concrete where cars park, and I can't do anything about it. But now that I have the skid steer, I can go ahead and pull this up too and replace the pipe all the way to where it enters the house, fix all that up. And so I am super excited. So yes, I am very much giddy. Now I do have to resod this area for the second time. Hopefully there's not a third time. But again, having the equipment to do it and just doing it correctly the first time will make life a lot easier. So the reason why all of this works out even better is as I was laying out everything, to run my boundaries for my mower, I was only going to limit it to about really where where I'm standing, into the backyard, and just kind of keep that contained. But if I'm removing all of the concrete of the driveway, if I remove that concrete pad, if I removed all of these other things, now I have a direct path for all of that wire to mow even more of the yard, which just relieves even more work for me in the future. So it's worth being a little bit patient and not putting down any more of that wire for just a little bit, so that we can get all this other stuff up. Also, I just get to learn how to use this really cool tool. So I'm super stoked about that. And just being able to get rid of the concrete sidewalk. So I do want to kind of document for you guys how bad the sidewalks are. I had actually paid some boys, or I was going to pay some boys to come and clear off my sidewalks for the season, quite a bit, and I was fine with doing it because, as you can see, my sidewalks are more grass than sidewalk. All the concrete is broken up from people, I think over the years, just parking on it, driving on it. It's not reinforced. It is not intended to be parked on, especially when you've got these wheels and tires that when you stop and start, you're creating a lot of extra shear force on that concrete, and so it just cracks right up. That's not what it's for, guys. Please don't park on your sidewalks. So I've got this undulating, cracked up business, and I had actually been spending, I think it was about $30 a month on organic, but it was an herbicide that I was having to put out just to kind of keep it under control, because you can mow your sidewalks, but it's not good for the mower and all that other stuff. So I'm really excited just to even go back to having just all grass until we can get better sidewalks put in. And this also means then I can free up wire to bury it to come over here and mow the front too. So yeah, there's my pitiful sidewalk. So anyways, that is basically all that's been done. It's still a lot. I still have a lot to do, but I am super excited to be able to make some progress. So hopefully I'll have more to share later on today. You guys take care and have a great weekend.